everyone. I'm Jess, and I'm the content manager here at Course Report. Course Report is the resource for helping people find the right coding bootcamps for them. You can use the Course Report website to research the best coding bootcamps all over the world, as well as insights on which coding languages to learn, where to apply, and how to fund your very own coding bootcamp experience. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. Jonathan Hewer, the Chief Learning Officer at 1150 Academy, so we can deep dive into 1150's online classroom. John, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Absolutely.
So, John, I'd love to know, what does it mean to be the Chief Learning Officer at 1150 Academy? Like, how are you working with students?
Yeah, so I'm responsible for classes, instructors, curriculum, and basically all of the aspects of the learning experience. We have a lot of people who work with students on the student experience to make sure that it's as good as it possibly can be. But at the same time, what we're really focused on is being effective. And so I'm responsible for making sure that students learn what they need to know to get an entry-level job or higher.
And there are so many remote boot camps out there now. So I'd love to know, in your opinion, what sets 1150 Academy's online boot camp apart?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, at the end of the day, we really focus on effective learning. The goal is to get as much information as possible in the shortest period of time. And so what sets us apart in many ways is, one, our staff really care. They genuinely care about students. And sometimes, if we had to decide between a brilliant software developer who is capable of creating incredible infrastructure and has all of this terrific knowledge, and somebody who's a good teacher, we're going to go with the good teacher, because the reality is these are entry-level skills, right? You're supposed to help people along, and that entry-level part for people moving into a career in tech, it can be really daunting. And so empathy, caring, supporting, those are all the things that we really try to emphasize, because the reality is the skills are out there. I mean, all that information is online. And so, students can learn a lot of this stuff, learn all this content on their own fairly easily. But the problem is there are two things that happen. One, it's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to stay engaged. It's hard to stay involved. And two, it's hard to get unstuck. And so everything that we do is really focused around those two things: keeping students engaged, showing that we really care, saying, yes, this is incredibly difficult, but you know what? You got it. It's totally fine. Keep working at it. You'll be fine. Because that's the real hard part. If you ask tons of people, what happened, they'll say like, oh yeah, I started an online thing and I got stuck and then I just, I stopped. And so it's like, okay, well, one, we're going to support you. And two, we have office hours, we have resources everywhere. So the second you get stuck, unless it's at 2 a.m, somebody will help you get unstuck, and then you keep learning.
And how long has 1150 Academy been teaching remotely? Was this in response to the COVID-19 lockdown, or did 1150 teach online before that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We had talked about some remote programs, but we were 100% in person. And so everything that we did was in person, a very high touch, highly engaged model. Sometimes we'd even have students who would hang around all day for the full-time class, and then they'd hang around all night for part-time classes. And it'd be like, hey man, we got to close the building. Like, eventually you need to go home. It was really building that community and really that high touch model. And so for COVID, we moved everything online. And, like a lot of people, we did it fairly quickly. I'm pretty fortunate. My background, my dissertation advisor's area of research was fully focused on high quality online programs. And so I just, took a couple days and we got everybody trained on over a weekend. Basically, we got everybody trained. It was like, here's everything that needs to be done in a high quality program. Let's do it. The tools that we could get, like Zoom, those are pretty easy to roll out. And one of the great things about working at a boot camp is I have 100 coders at my disposal. So the tools that we didn't have, we quickly wrote. We created a few things, and we've just made them better over the last year. And so really did our best to recreate our in-person model online. It's all synchronous. There's always an instructor there. For the full-time program, there's always an instructor there. You're always it's all real time. It's all other students. It's just all happening in real time. Just everybody's spread out. And so we really tried to keep that community and all those other pieces, because again, it's that supportive culture in helping students get from beginning to end.
And what does the online bootcamp curriculum cover?
So we have 5 different classes, and most of them, 4 of them, are available in full-time and part-time varieties. So our more entry-level technology program is called IT Pro, and it's for more of a hardware IT infrastructure type of job. Then our high-end technology program is cybersecurity, and we have a Cyberbit range that is the most crazy, cool, virtualized thing you can possibly imagine, where you literally drop students in, and it's everything short of like Tron suits. You're basically set into 14 different scenarios in real time, and you have to diagnose the scenario, stop the attack, document, file all the proper documentation, and identify what's happening. I might have gotten that order wrong, but basically, the students know the framework better than I do. And so they have to do this real time experience. And so it'll be funny sometimes, a lot of people don't have access to a cyber range. A lot of people don't have access to this kind of high quality environment. And we literally can turn up and down like the amount of traffic or the amount of people in the company, and the fake company that they're trying to protect as a cybersecurity analyst. And also we can drop real people in. So you can actually have multiple scenarios, and it can get incredibly complex. So on the high end of our technology, we got the cybersecurity program, which also covers, your basic CompTIA stuff, Network Plus, Security Plus, and has phenomenal passing rates. And they just drill and drill and drill and drill and hands-on and hands-on and hands-on, so that when you leave the program, you're really ready to go. So the full-time program there is 14 weeks, and the part-time program is 24 weeks. So again, it's a pretty comprehensive program. On the code side, we have our software development class and our web development class. Basically the same, but software development is C# and web development is JavaScript. Same thing, full-time class, all day, 5 days a week, immersive workplace experience. It covers all of the basics from beginning to end for .NET in software, and JavaScript and React in web development. And there it's 12 weeks for the full-time program and 24 weeks for the part-time program. And then our 5th class is UX UI. It's more of a skill up class. It's a flex class. Most people in that program have a degree, a career, and they're just looking to learn something new, either as a developer or from marketing or different areas like that. And that one is 8 weeks. It's all part-time, once a week, much more individual feedback, and lots of time just spent crafting your portfolio and perfecting your skills. So those are our 5 classes. Again, kind of ranges from 8 weeks part-time with the UX UI all the way up to 24 weeks for our part-time code and technology courses.
And for the online bootcamp programs, is there an ideal candidate versus like the in-person versions?
Yeah, that's a great question. Whether it's online or in person, we really focus on entry-level talent. We want to help people get prepared for that entry-level job. Somebody the other day was telling me that 5% of global GDP is tech. How do you measure tech, right? There's tech-enabled companies. There's companies that make technology products. It's all really hard to know. And so however that's measured, he said it's supposed to go to 10% in the next 5 years, which doesn't surprise me, right? COVID has obviously made a lot of people who weren't comfortable with computers all of a sudden aware of bandwidth and aware of networking and aware of lighting and aware of Zoom, obviously, right? All these different things that everybody knows now. So obviously, tech's not going anywhere. And so as far as what the student is, the reality is tech is everywhere, right? If you have an accounting degree and you worked as an accountant, you might know all of the accounting words, all the tax forms, debits and credits and 1090s, whatever's, right? And there's a whole world and a whole language of that. That experience makes you great as a as a web developer, as a software developer who might be producing a product or working behind the scenes to build out the infrastructure or build out the software used by an accounting firm, right? Obviously, machine learning and artificial intelligence, all that stuff is really impacting those different professional worlds. At the same time, you might be a complete total beginner. And the tech world has an infinite number of possibilities. And so if you're a complete total beginner, great, get started. One of the best people, best students we've had, basically came through before he graduated high school, and really wanted to challenge himself, and is phenomenal. And so no problem getting jobs and whatnot. So it's been interesting to see kind of the full spectrum. Online, in person, it really just depends if you want to make an impact and you want to, you like solving problems. That's really what it's all about. If you are a software developer, pretty much any job in tech, really, everybody's got the same job. Your job is to solve problems. And so that's really what it's about. It's about that culture of collaboration, working together to solve problems. And then you move on to the next problem and you solve that.
1150 is based in Indianapolis. I'm wondering if the online bootcamp is accepting only people in that area or people from basically everywhere now.
That is a really good question. We have students from over 20 states now, might have to be up to 26, as well as 2 students who are in Europe. So it's a completely different world. We actually picked up some students from other boot camps that shut down due to COVID. And so there are different funding options. There's different pieces everywhere. But the reality is we try to reflect what's happening in the tech workplace. And the reality is you can kind of work from anywhere. You can kind of live anywhere and work wherever. You might be working for a boss who's in one state. You might be in another state, and the company headquarters might be in a third state, right? So it's just an entirely different world, and that's the way that we approach it. We have a lot of different options for students who are in different parts of the country. And that's why we really try to focus on having that really, really good experience. Even though students are remote, building that community and doing all of those pieces. The only thing I would say is that sometimes there are, some sort of local things. Some parts of the country have different languages that might be popular than another place. And so, what students really need to think about is where they want to be when they're done. But at the same time, what's great is our certifications and our badges and all the different things that we do for students, portfolio building and everywhere. You can kind of be everywhere. And it's like our Salesforce certification, right? We work with Salesforce to do that. Salesforce is used everywhere. So our students can go wherever they want. And so that's where, as the next couple of years evolves, we're going to have more and more students who are in one place, come to 1150 remotely, never come to Indiana, even though it's a great place to visit, never come to Indiana, but then, end up getting a job in a third state. And that's the way it is. We had a student from South Carolina, took the boot camp, ended up getting a job for a company in the Netherlands, even though he's still in the US. So it's just the way that the tech world kind of operates. And as long as you have a good internet connection, you can come, enjoy the classes, learn a lot, and then go get a great job.
Okay, John, so let's dive into 1150's online classroom and what that kind of looks like. So what does a typical day look like in the remote campus?
For our full-time classes, it is all day, every day. It is intense. It's basically 9 to 5. With a 30-minute break for lunch. Now, there's some of that is guided instruction or lecture. Some of it is lab time. Some of it is student presentation. Some of it is whiteboarding. Some of it is different assessments and challenges to prepare you for a job. It's not just, sitting and watching somebody talk at you, obviously. But that's basically what it is. It's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and in 4-week blocks, basically. So we have 3 badges: gold badge, blue badge, and red badge. Each represents a different accomplishment. And so as students progress through, they go through the 4 weeks, and then they have a big project at the end, and then they move on to the next one. And so the part-time classes are 3 days a week. with some Saturdays because there are some things that just need to be longer. But that's the basic experience, 9 to 5, all day, every day, just like a job.
And who are the instructors for the online boot camp? Are they the same as the in-person instructors?
So we have a rigorous training program, and they are the same instructors. All of our instructors have to go through our trainee process. And basically, like I said earlier, if we had to choose between some sort of brilliant infrastructure engineer or a really good teacher, we're going to go with the really good teacher. So a lot of our instructors came through 1150. So they are literally saying, hey, I thought I was crazy. I didn't think I could do this. And then I learned this, and then I went and got a job at this company, right? So they can really relate to the experience, particularly for, you're not prototypical, white guy in a hoodie kind of environment, right? Like developers are pretty diverse. The tech community is pretty diverse. And so our students and our staff are as well. And so really being able to find someone that you can connect with and man, I can't do this. I thought I couldn't do it either, and yet I was able to. At the same time, we've got a lot of our part-time instructors work full-time jobs. And so I usually joke with them, I would love for you to have a tough day at the office and to come into the part-time class and vent for 30 minutes, because what a better way, like, oh man, I brought down the whole payment system by accident. Sorry. Oh geez, what a rough, right? Like, it's not good for your clients, but what a great opportunity for the students to actually listen to what's happening in the real world in real time with what they're going from. So that's that combination that we try to look at always. A great teacher, the right amount of experience, and really just somebody who can relate to you and can transfer that knowledge, but also can teach you the things that you need to know to actually be a good employee.
And what's the typical student teacher ratio in the online boot camp?
We always aim for 8-to-1 of instructional staff to student. Now, it might be learning assistants. And in our cyber program, some of the classes can get pretty big, and then they break down into little squads, and then the squads compete against each other, and things like that. So it depends, but we always aim for 8-to-1. And that's also why we also have office hours, pretty much 7 to 11 now, I think, pretty much every day. So, students can pop into office hours anytime to get unstuck. And that's in addition to what they have for their classes. So a lot of times the staff will, be getting exhausted, and I'll be like, you're not supposed to work, 7 days a week. Like, it's okay to not answer all the students' questions. So if for some reason, it's your instructor's day off, go to the office hours. Like, we have a whole set of people, and this is one of the things that we built. So we have a whole interface that we built out, so you can find somebody who's an expert in the language or in the particular technical challenge you're having, and then get help like right there. Sometimes you have to wait a couple minutes, but that's how we have it set up. And so that way, anytime you need help, somebody can help you. If you reach out to your instructor and they're not available, or if your learning assistants aren't available, we've got another whole set of people there to help you get unstuck.
That's great to hear, because that was my next question for those people in the class who might be struggling with a particular subject or just feel like they're getting behind. What kinds of support can they expect from 1150 in the online classroom?
Yeah, we provide a lot of support. And I think the hardest thing online is that they don't get to look around and see how everybody else is struggling too. Like, this is hard. But it's not impossible. And so we provide a ton of opportunities for students to get feedback and to understand that, like, look, this is hard, but you're doing fine. And everybody else is struggling. And that's how it is. Oh, and by the way, 10 years from now, if you're writing code somewhere, you're still going to be struggling. You're still going to have bugs. Like, that's okay. Like, this is just part of the life. It's totally fine. And so that's where that kind of, really focusing on the total student support, wraparound services, emotional support is so critical, right? Like, you can Google pretty much any code things these days. But particularly during COVID and even before COVID, I mean, when we were really small, we started at Scott Jones, basically the inventor of voicemail, his house. And a lot of times we talk about missing those days because it was, you know, a lot smaller group of students who might be really, really struggling with what they were learning when we first started. Keeping that high level of contact, that really high level of community, that high level of support has been something at the center of everything that we've done since then. And with COVID, it was like students are going to need more help, not less. So we've made sure to really always invest in that and support the students.
Do you have any advice for online boot campers who are just about to start and an online cohort in setting up that like at home classroom for themselves?
Yeah, we actually give a care package to every student, and it's got an extra monitor in it. It's got a little USB monitor and some flashcards and some study food and like T-shirts and stuff like that. But basically, that second monitor is key. Right. And so what a lot of students do is they figure out, you know, a lot of the recent TVs have AirPlay or, you know, Chromecast or things like that built in. And so they can literally use their TV as one monitor and the monitor we give them as a second monitor and then their computer. Like, so absolutely having a little whiteboard. I think we give those out too, if I'm not mistaken. These, you know, the little like, you know, they're like kindergarten whiteboard, but perfect little thing that you can just, you know, work out your ideas on. And that second monitor are key. I mean, there's obviously the Zoom basics, right? You want someplace that's quiet, and you know, you want to be able to focus, and you know, things like that. But for the most part, that second monitor is key because you want to be able to see what you need to be working on, and then you need to be able to work on it at the same time. And a lot of times, you know, if you're trying to shuffle back and forth, really easy to get lost and to lose track of what's happening. And so that's why, you know, Scott made the decision. No, every student, like when we go online, like when we moved online, it's like nobody can do this without a second. But we'll just we literally just get like giant pallets of them delivered and give every student the second monitor because it's so critical.
That's so cool. Another huge component of the bootcamp experience is career services. So, how is 1150 preparing the online bootcamp students for the job hunt?
Yeah, that is a really good question. So first of all, we do a lot for all of our students because the only thing we are focused on is getting students connected with jobs. We have very few students who come through and go, "Oh, I was just learning about code because I got nothing else to do." No, we're real. They're real. I'm here to change my life. I'm here to get a better job. I'm here to get better pay. You know, I'm here for whatever reason. And we want to help them accomplish that goal. So we have several workshops throughout the programs that are completely focused on helping students get connected with jobs. One thing, ironically, years ago, is I wrote a book called "Be Employed and You Graduate," and so that's part of why we have a phenomenal career services team, and it's great because we're all aligned on that goal. So for the way it works when you're going through the boot camp, we do a whole bunch of stuff to help prepare resumes. We do interview workshops. We make people practice their questions. All of those mock interviews So we do the interview workshop internally. Then we have mock interviews where students actually interview with a professional, real person who comes in to interview the students, give them feedback, all that stuff. And then after they graduate, we have a whole career services team who then keeps track of their applications, gives them advice on where to apply, helps them really find the right fit, right? You know, you might have somebody who their dream is to take their dog to work. Great. We know of pet friendly companies. We'll connect you, right? And so they really help people work through all of those details. And then what I think is probably the coolest part is because they know so much about that, they can also then, the entire career services team, they have people who can help with the negotiation and finalizing the agreement to make sure that you're getting into the job and getting into the situation that you want. So in a lot of places, like career services is kind of lip service. For us, it's an entire division. and they are dedicated, they're focused, they work with students every single day. Sometimes have those hard conversations about like, hey, in person, you gotta be a little different than when you're on Zoom. You gotta have pants on, right? I mean, sometimes you get those funny kind of things, but at the same time, nowadays a lot of students are doing interviews on Zoom, right? And so there's a whole different way to prepare for that. And how do you get set up? And also tech screens, right? So technical assessments are a big part of the tech community. So all of our students take multiple tech screens from different vendors, not an academic thing, but the actual HR materials that tech companies used on different coders and whatnot, so that they, again, get practice. Because the main thing, we found that just taking it 2 separate times, your score can go up by about 17%. And a lot of times what students tell us is, oh man, it was just hard to figure out how to arrange the windows. And once I figured out how to arrange the windows, I could it's just easier. So everything that we do is much more like learning to play an instrument or learning to play a sport than like college. And so that is a very different thing. It's just practice. We're going to put you in the scenario so that when you go into the interview for your dream job, it's not the first time. Anything that they throw at you, you will have seen it before. You'll have had a chance to learn. You'll have a chance to get feedback. You'll have had a chance to reflect, and you'll be prepared to go in there and win the job that you want. And that's everything that we do.
For those total coding beginners who are interested in 1150 Academy, is 1150 offering any kind of intro courses?
Yeah, we have intro courses about every other week. Again, they're real-time instructors right there. Ask your questions. They're a great opportunity to see if this is what really you're interested in, and more importantly, you should attend multiple ones, right? So, am I interested in cyber? Do I attend both of them? See what it is that you really enjoy, and see what it is that aligns with your life goals.
Also, are these intro courses free, and are they online?
Yes, absolutely free. And they are offered over Zoom, like a lot of things these days. So we look forward to having them back in person again. But like I said, we've expanded into over 20 states now. So it's online is the way to go.
And in your experience, in your opinion, I'd just love to know, why do you think this is a good moment for someone to go to a remote coding bootcamp like 1150 Academy and make that career change into tech?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple big things. One, tech is growing. Tech is pervasive. It's in every part of our life. And even if you're in like a traditional company that might be farming or something like that, there's so much data, there's so much analytics related to weather, moisture, right? All of those different things, so many sensors. There's a tremendous opportunity to utilize tech to make so many different fields better, so many jobs better. The other thing is the world is changing, and this is something that I spend a lot of time thinking about, and I'm passionate about, and writing about, and just the skills that you need to succeed in today's economy change rapidly, and boot camps have evolved because you need to be able to pick up those skills and then go back to your job, right? Go back to your life, get a new job. It's very different than it used to be, 20, 30 years ago, where the pace of technology was much slower. And so the reality is, projecting forward into the future, you're going to be not interrupting your career, but it'll seem like it, to learn new skills all the time. And so that's all that's happening, right? You come to a place like 1150, you learn critical relevant skills, you're going to go work a job. And then honestly, 4, 5, 6 years, you're probably going to go do another boot camp somewhere, learn a new set of skills, and then move on to the next stage in your career, right? And that's just the way that the world is going. We do get a lot of students who have computer science degrees who have been working in a job, for 10, 20 years, and their skills are like their knowledge is fine, right? They have a computer science degree, they know all this stuff, but because their job never changed, their skills weren't able to keep up with the current technologies. And so it's a lot easier for them, learn it in a well-structured environment, learn all of these new skills, and then go get a new, more advanced job. And the way that technology goes, I think that these kinds of short, focused skill experiences are going to become more and more and more common. Universities are all trying to get in on it. Even high schools and different traditional education is rethinking the way that they do this. So it's just the reality of the future. It's the perfect time, come learn some new skills, and then apply it to whatever field you're passionate about. And then, 10 years, you'll do it again.
And that's an excellent place to wrap up this Q&A. Thank you so much for talking with me today, John. So we will be posting a recording and a transcript of this video interview on the Course Report blog with contact information for 1150 Academy, just in case you're interested in applying for one of their upcoming cohorts. And thanks so much to all of you for watching. Tweet at us, email us, let us know which topic you'd like us to cover next on the Course Report blog. In the meantime, follow Course Report on Facebook and Twitter. And if you're a Bootcamp alumni, don't forget to post a review of your Bootcamp experience on Course Report. Your review is a huge help to anyone who's thinking of getting into tech today.